Hello everyone, this is Pooka and welcome to another Pokemon TCG video. Today we're going to be looking at another deck trying to use the new card Miltank, which has been pretty powerful so far. And this time we're going to try different partners, Empoleon and Dusknoir. So this is a deck that actually had some success at the French National Championships. So I figured I'd try to build it myself and see what we come up with, and see if this deck is actually competitive. So of course, Miltank once again, I think this is like the third video I've done with this card. It has powerful friends, 10 plus 70 if you have any stage 2 Pokemon on your bench. So that's 80 damage for just a single energy. That's very efficient. Of course, that's really all you can do. 80 damage is where you max out, and Miltank only has 100 HP, so it's fairly easy to knock out. And that's just what we have to work with. But we're going to be trying to use Miltank as quickly and efficiently as possible. So our partners, we have two different stage 2s in the deck. The first one is going to be Empoleon. This card has been around for a long time. Diving Draw, you get to discard a card and then draw 2 cards. And then Attack Command does 10 for each Pokemon in play. Now, because we have Diving Draw, we're also going to be running Execute. This is a natural combination. Execute has propagation. When it's in your discard pile, you can pull it out. That's basically all it is. So every turn, we get to just Diving Draw for free, thanks to Execute's propagation. Just an easy combination. And it allows you to just draw 2 extra cards every turn. It's pretty sweet. Otherwise, the discard is actually pretty annoying for Diving Draw. You can't really afford to keep discarding cards. So that one Execute really does make all the difference. So we have a very heavy Empoleon line, 4-2-4, and then 4 Rare Candy. And then our other line is Dusknoir. Now we're going to run 2 Duskull. First reason is that Duskull is very often targeted down by opponents. Right? That's because Dusknoir is so powerful that people just say, whoa, Duskull, let's get rid of that right away. They play a Lysander, a Catcher, or Genesect Red Signal. They try to take this out immediately. So we're going to play 2 Duskull in this deck. It also has a pretty cute attack Revival, which can be a little synergetic with Empoleon. Brings a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto his or her bench. So we have that to work with as well. But then the big star of the show is, of course, Dusknoir. Sinister Hand is just a ridiculous ability. We get to rearrange damage on our opponent's board. And this just helps a lot because sometimes we do too much damage. For example, with Empoleon, if we attack command, let's say we attack command against a big Pokemon EX for 100 damage. Now our next attack is also going to do 100 damage, but we're doing overkill. We're doing 30 more than we would need to, or 20 more than we would need to, and so we can conserve some of that damage with Dusknoir's Sinister Hand, or rearrange it to take out a bigger threat, or take out some support Pokemon. The options are just there, all thanks to Dusknoir's Sinister Hand. So this is kind of a neat little deck. It's pretty simple, but it offers a lot of tricks as well. Our supporters, we just have 4 Skyla, 4 N, 3 Colress, 1 Professor Juniper, and then 2 Tropical Beach. And then we also have 1 Lysander just because this card is pretty darn good. For our searching cards, we have 2 Level Ball to make sure we get out our basics, and then 4 Ultra Ball to make sure we get everything else. It's worth noting that Ultra Ball becomes better with Execute in the deck as well, since we only have to discard 1 card besides Execute once we get that in the discard pile. Our other cards, we need some things to increase our damage. 2 Muscle Band, 2 Silver Bangle. This will allow us to do additional damage because 80 is not quite enough to knock out those big Pokemon in 2 hits. With Muscle Band or Silver Bangle, we can definitely do that. We have a few switching cards, 1 Switch, 1 Escape Rope. One of the dangers of Dusknoir is its monstrous 3 retreat cost, so we do need to run some switching cards to make sure it doesn't get brought up with the Lysander and then stuck in the active spot. We have 1 Super Rod, you get to shuffle in 3 Pokemon, or basic energy, just to recover some cards. A Startling Megaphone is just good to discard some tools, very good against Garbodor as well. And we just have our Dowsing Machine for the A-Spec. This has become kind of a standard A-Spec card in most decks. Discard 2 cards to get back a trainer. And then finally, we just have a Water Energy which is actually enough. 8 gets the job done. We only need 1 energy to attack, so, I mean, realistically, we're only really going to need 6 energy in a game if we want to attack with 6 different Pokemon. 8 is just to make sure we kind of draw into them, or in case we need to discard them at some point. So here is the Empoleon Miltank deck. So we've seen Butterfree Miltank, we've seen Greninja Miltank, and now we have Empoleon Miltank. I don't know which one's the best, but hey, we'll try this one out as well. So let's go ahead and get into a game I played on Pokemon TCG Online. Looks like I will be going second, and I don't have a basic, but this time I have 3 of them, so that's going to work out pretty well. My hand is not spectacular, but we do have the means to get a turn 2 Empoleon with that Ultra Ball and the rare candy, so this is actually going to work out pretty darn well. I'm just going to start off by benching everything, and we'll see what we're going up against. Oh no. Trevenant. My opponent says good luck. And Trevenant is just one of the worst Pokemon you could face when you're using a Stage 2 deck, especially when you're going second in a game. That is even more brutal. That just means he's going to get a chance to shut off items before I even get an opportunity to use my rare candy. And so my Stage 2s are going to come out very slowly. Dusknoir may never even come out, period. And here I'm going to play an Ultra Ball while I can, because it also shuts off Ultra Ball. And I'm thinking here, I know Trevenant's going to come out. That's going to happen. So I'm going to Ultra Ball for a Prinplup, just to make sure I can get a Stage 1 into play, and at the very least get a Stage 2 into play by the 3rd turn. It's pretty slow, but it's better than, not having your Stage 1. So I'm just going to search for one, and hope that he doesn't play an N. And alright, there is the Juniper, and the Trevenant is out. Forest Curse does shut off all of my item cards, but we do have that Prinplup, so I'm pretty happy with the result. Now we did see, wow, there's a pretty big Juniper discarding 2 Excelgor, and then a Litleo and a Pyroar. So it looks like, when I see that, I think, alright, this is running Pyroar to counter Virizion EX, right? Because Virizion EX is a problem. Verdant Wind stops the special conditions that Excelgor provides, poison and paralysis with deck and cover. And when I see there's no Pyroar, I immediately think, oh, there must not be room for Dusknoir. And if there's no room for Dusknoir, this Trevenant Excelgor deck is a lot less intimidating. The way you would lose to this deck before was, they would constantly paralyze and poison your active, and then Dusknoir would move the damage away so your active wouldn't get knocked out. They would just constantly paralyze you over and over and over until eventually they could just move all the damage and wipe out your entire board in 1 turn, thanks to Dusknoir's Sinister Hand. Now, without that, they have to knock out your active, and that means when your active gets knocked out, you get to promote a new Pokemon, and then you get to attack. So you're not locked as badly as you were in the past. And I'm actually pretty excited about that. I went from being very scared about this deck to, okay, we can beat this deck. It's not that big of a deal. So that's just the difference between Dusknoir and no Dusknoir. That should tell you how good that card is. Alright, so we do see a whole bunch of Pokemon coming out. We have a Shelmet on the bench and a couple of Mew EX on the bench as well. I'm going to get my Empoleon into play, and I'm going to go with an N right away. We got another Piplup on the bench. I'm going to go with a Diving Draw. We'll just discard the item cards that I won't be able to play anymore. So goodbye Level Ball, and then Powerful Friends for 80 damage. Now this is actually very, very relevant. The first 10 damage I did with Powerful Friends was actually on purpose, so that when I did 80 with Powerful Friends, we now have 90 damage in play. So if I can ever manage to get a Dusknoir in play, I can move all the damage to knock out an Excelgor, which is huge. If you take away Excelgor, this deck crumbles, right? They use Mew EX to copy Excelgor's deck and cover, so that they can keep paralyzing and poisoning you every turn, but if you take away the Excelgor, the deck really has nothing to even attack with, and you end up in a huge favorable position because well, they just sit there struggling to try to set up another one. Alright, so we do see the Mew EX coming out, and we'll see the deck in cover, I'm sure. Miltank will take the brunt of the attack, and that'll be 50 poison and paralysis, which is fine. Again, I don't mind getting knocked out. I do mind my Pokemon being locked forever through Dusknoir, which is very annoying. But it won't happen because my opponent is playing Pyroar instead. Alright, so let's begin here with a diving draw. I'll just get rid of Tropical Beach since my opponent plays that, I'm pretty sure. I don't need another one of those. And then we'll go ahead and get another Miltank on the bench. I would prefer to be attacking with Miltank in these situations because I don't have to lose my Stage 2 Pokemon. And also, Empoleon has a bad amount of HP. But here I'm going to Skyla for a Lysander so I can actually get access to my items again. And then Tropical Beach. But Empoleon has 140 HP, which is bad against Excelgor. Because when they use Deck and Cover, it does 50 plus 10 for poison. Going back into their turn, it'll be at 70 damage. And then they'll Deck and Cover again. You'll be at 120, 130, and then you get knocked out going back into your opponent's turn. So I would like to avoid attacking with Empoleon until I really, really need to. And that's why I'm going with another Miltank instead. I did manage to get another Prinplup down, which is huge. I can get another Stage 2 into play. That is awesome. And it looks like my opponent did end me to ruin my play. I was going to have a Lysander, Rare Candy, Dusknoir. It was going to be an awesome, awesome turn. But now I got end, and not so awesome. So here, I'm trying to decide who I want to promote. I'll probably just promote Miltank. I would actually prefer not to knock out this Trevenant since it does have a bunch of damage on it for me to move with Dusknoir at some point. So I'm going to go with, let's go for the diving draw, see if we can hit something big. And, whoa, talk about big. We drew the Lysander. Ooh. Alright, now this gets interesting. I have a lot of cards to play. Execute would make this a lot easier. But what I could do here is Lysander out a Pokemon not named Trevenant. And then Dowsing Machine for Ultra Ball. And then Ultra Ball for Dusknoir. And then we can knock out Excelgor with Sinister Hand. And that's just, it's going to discard my entire hand, basically. But I feel like it's certainly worth it in this situation to slow down my opponent a lot. So I'm going to Lysander out the Phantump here. I just wanted something that wasn't Trevenant, so I can go ahead and play my Dowsing Machine. We'll discard Duskull. And let's see what else we can get rid of. Probably... It's actually really tricky. I'm going to have to discard so many cards here, but I have to make sure I keep a Rare Candy. It's going to work out just right. But we're going to go for the Dowsing Machine for Ultra Ball, and then get the Dusknoir and go for this monstrous play here. Well, Ultra Ball getting rid of N and Escape Rope, since I'll probably just play the Super Rod this turn. I won't have items again for a while, if ever. And here we go. Sinister Hand. We have 90 damage in play. Just goes to show you that every bit of damage counts in a Pokemon game. And we'll go ahead with the Sinister Hand. Keep going until we knock out that Excelgor. Now, I actually think I made a mistake bringing up Phantump. I should have just brought out Mew EX. Reason for that is I don't really care about knocking out Phantump. If I'm going to attack, I would like to actually keep damage in play. So when my opponent benches a new Shelmet, I can just move the damage over with Dusknoir's Sinister Hand. So if I would have brought out Mew EX, I would have just been able to Powerful Friends that for 80 and then kept the damage in play, which is probably what I would prefer. But now I've left myself in a fairly awkward position where I'm going to knock out a Phantump and then just lose my item cards once again. So instead of taking the knockout on Phantump here, I might just Tropical Beach for a fresh hand of 7 cards and hope that my opponent evolves into Trevenant and then gives me another target to hit for damage instead of hitting for a knockout. Dusknoir really does change the complexion of everything. It's a really, really crazy card. So we'll have to see what my opponent does here. And if my opponent doesn't evolve this Phantump or move it out of the active spot, we have an opportunity to try to get a Startling Megaphone to discard all those float stones. So here you can see how Lysander really does pick apart these Trevenant Excelgor decks. They were very powerful. There was almost no way to escape them before unless you had Virizion EX. But now Lysander just gives an added element to give you a shot to break the lock. Right? It's a supporter card, and then once Trevenant goes to the bench, you can play your item cards, and just stuff like this can really mess up their deck. Alright, so we just see a Tropical Beach from the opponent after all of that stuff, and we're in a pretty decent spot at this point. I'm going to go with a Diving Draw, discarding an Ultra Ball there, and then I'm going to go with the Skyla. I actually would like to rare Candy for Empoleon, but then I noticed the Startling Megaphone, and I figured, hey, why don't we just discard the Float Stones? That could really slow down my opponent. I don't know how many Float Stone he plays, but maybe a couple could be prize or something like that, and I could just win based on that. Not being able to retreat Trevenant, and just with Dusknoir I can lock it in place the rest of the game. I do get a second Empoleon out. I was hoping to get another rare candy off of that Diving Draw, but you know, I have 2 Empoleon out, so I'm not too upset about how this is going. So this has turned into a very interesting game. We got locked out of our item cards on the second turn. I was going second. I didn't get an opportunity to play rare candy, but then after that, just one big turn of the Lysander, rare candy, Dusknoir, all of a sudden things broke down for my opponent. We see a Getsis getting a whole 0 cards. That's what, you know, being able to Diving Draw away your item cards will do, or being able to actually play them. And now my opponent seems to be struggling quite a bit. Right, we see the deck and cover, Trevenant coming out, and that really doesn't bother me too much. I'm actually not going to bother playing anything at this point. You might wonder why I'm not playing any energy, and that's because Dusknoir. Something I don't want to lose to is a Lysander bringing out my Dusknoir, and then it just being stuck there, and I could potentially deck out. So I'm going to save my energy until I really need them. I only need 1 to attack, so it's not a big deal. I can just attach 1 when I need to attack. And I don't want to walk into a game losing Lysander or something like that. That would just be very, very annoying. Now we do see a DCE onto Excelgor on the bench, and here is a Skyla. So we may see a Float Stone right here. That would allow my opponent to retreat for free into the Excelgor, but no, we just see an N and then a Tropical Beach. So this will give me another opportunity to go ahead and use Powerful Friends. I will just attach this turn since I notice I have a lot of water energy left. May as well just attach 1 to Empoleon now. I have 3 other ones in my hand. And Miltank will get knocked out from poison no matter what happens next turn, but hey, I'll just go ahead and use Powerful Friends for 100 damage, and that is perfect once again. We want to avoid knocking out the active. And I'm going to go ahead and play my N here, just to give my opponent worse odds of drawing a Float Stone. And then we did get the Execute, so I'll go ahead and Diving Draw a couple times for free. Got another Miltank. I'm actually not putting that down. And that might seem strange, but the reason is, as I've been saying, I don't want to knock out the active. I want to take out Excelgor, and if I do a one-hit knockout on the Trevenant, then I won't be able to move damage with Dusknoir. So I'm purposely not benching a Pokemon because I see that Empoleon's attack command will have to be used soon, and if I'm facing a full bench, then I don't want 5 Pokemon in play, because attack command will do 110, which will knock out Trevenant. It's pretty tricky, but we're purposely not benching Miltank there. Alright, so here we get to Sinister Hand once again. It looks like my opponent still hasn't found another Float Stone. So this means we're going to go ahead and take out one of those Excelgor, and almost just as important, a double colorless energy. That is huge. And also we didn't get paralyzed this turn, so this means we get to attack command again. And or we get to attack again, this time using attack command, but basically it means we get to keep more damage in play. And that just means, boy, whatever Shelmet comes down, we can just move damage to knock it out. And you can see just why Dusknoir is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, Stage 2 in the game. That ability is just absurd. It gives you such control over the game. And here we see another attack command for 100 damage. Again, we're purposely not knocking out the active. It's weird how this works sometimes. You know, it's counterintuitive. When you play Pokemon, you think, yeah, I need to take prizes, knock out immediately. But sometimes you need to do something that takes a little longer that ends up being better. Here we do see a switch into a Mew EX, and there's another deck in cover, so we do see the not a knockout, but with the paralysis and the poison, and Trevenant comes back out. But you know what? Here, this is just another opportunity to knock out an Excelgor with Sinister Hand, and knock out another DCE as well. My opponent has to be extremely light on resources at this point in the game. Float Stones are in the discard, Excelgors are in the discard, Double Colors in the discard. I mean, what does my opponent have left at this point? Does he have enough to even have a shot to take those remaining 4 prizes? I would probably say no. And this is very strange because you'd never really see Stage 2 decks have a shot against these quick Trevenants, where they just shut off your item card, shut off your rare candy, and then all of a sudden it looks like, how am I the one in control? I don't know, but I did end up in control. My opponent says, I'm trying this without Dusknoir, and it just doesn't work as well. And I would agree. That deck definitely needs Dusknoir, but then when you play Dusknoir, you lose to Virizion EX, and you also have problems with Lysander still. So, Trevenant Excelgor feels like a deck that is fading away. It has been. Excelgor decks have been fading away since Virizion EX got released, but now this has just gotten even worse. So we see just another Tropical Beach from my opponent, and I just probably will use Attack Command, and we should just be able to get a couple knockouts here to finish the game. I would say MVP has certainly been Dusknoir in this match. There's no way to say anything otherwise. And my opponent says his last Float Stone is prized, so that Trevenant is actually stuck there. And the victory goes to Empoleon Miltank, even though this probably seems like an awful matchup. Dusknoir can fix everything. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will certainly have some more for you soon. I am Pooka from the Top Cut, and I will see you guys next time.